Hello everyone, I'm Mayor Smith, and I thank the Historical Society for this opportunity to put a video out that covers South Lebanon and the great work by the Society. I'm going to take my mask off. We have the proper facility here with social distancing, and we have everyone, they'll be masked up and asking the questions, except for the person that's asking the questions. So we can go from there. Thank you very much.
All right. You want to go ahead and state what date it is and why we're wearing masks? Because that's probably going to be a question in the future.
Today's the 6th, right?
Yes.
It's October 6, 2020. You're testing my mental ability, right?
And the reason we're wearing masks in 2020 is due to COVID-19, which is a pandemic that has hit the world. And hopefully when you're watching this in the future, we have gotten past this.
Yes, so this community also went through the pandemic of 1918, since we're an old community. So I welcome your questions. And
All right, we'll get to it. The first one's going to be, what is your earliest memories of South Lebanon?
What I remember of South Lebanon as a kid is that we played a lot of baseball, and also the parents played softball. I can remember my father, he also managed a team, and he played too. So actually behind me there's a park. That was a baseball field in the early years. Besides being the oldest cemetery, there's some multiple functions with it. And every weekend we would go down and watch the parents play softball. And they were really some great softball leaders and players. I remember my dad was coaching one time, and he was actually the referee. And I was up to bat, and I fouled the ball, and it hit him square in the face. I thought I was going to be in trouble, but he bled a little bit, but that was it. He was part of the game back then.
Okay. And what is your favorite thing that has happened to South Lebanon since you've been living here?
I believe that South Lebanon is transitioning into a city, and all of the new businesses, the new subdivisions, the new developments, the expanding of South Lebanon, and including bringing the powder plant back into fold. The powder plant started in South Lebanon, and as that we were one of the very fortunate to help them facilitate the rebirth of that. And I think that's going to be one thing that's probably talked about over the decades more than anything, bringing something that's been around from the late 1800s, early 1800s to the present day.
All right, and what year did you start serving in the community?
In the mid-70s, I actually was recruited by the chief of police years ago to get in law enforcement. So I was fortunate enough to graduate from the Lebanon Police Academy. And then I served about 6 years in police force and enjoyed that. It was a great background. And then I went into public service after that from council and then the mayor's position. But I actually was help from people that, what I remember, and I've tried to practice this too, look for individuals you think that will help the community, and there was individuals that looked for me. And I try to do the same thing to help individuals out there to promote our community and to have the stamina to stand the test of time, because it's hard. You get so many opinions and criticisms. To continue on with a path that's positive, you have to really have dedication.
Okay. And did you always want to serve South Lebanon or any community, or what?
Yes, South Lebanon was my home. My parents raised, 8 of us really, plus they even raised grandkids too. So my parents unfortunately passed 3 years ago, but they left a lot of siblings and grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And I was fortunate to have parents that were married 66 years, so very fortunate.
And can you remember the most tragic thing that you can remember happening in South Lebanon?
Well, in my lifetime, there's some tragedies that happened in the community, the 1913 flood, things like that. But personally, I would say there was a fire across the Little Miami River we were in multiple townships, the South Lebanon Hamilton Township side. There was a fire there that ended up a couple kids couldn't get out and perished. That one still sticks with me to this day. I still think about that one. That they tried everything they could, but they couldn't get them out, and it was just consumed. But there's other things, but with 225 years of being around, you can have a lot of things. But that, to me personally, was seeing two kids that never had the opportunity to grow up and have a family.
Okay. And what made you want to become mayor of South Lebanon?
Actually, one of the mayors years ago asked me to run. He stepped down, and while I was on council, I became the mayor appointed for a period of time. And then, once holding the position, I realized that that position could advance South Lebanon into a greater position in the future. Working with the councils back then and over the years, and trying to go from a part-time community in the as far as positions from police and the administrators to full-time, so they could dedicate the full amount of resources for developing this community. And I was able to achieve that, to put the first full-time police department in effect and full-time administrators. And having that commitment with those individuals really helped us through the infrastructure to where we're at today. And now part-time is good in a lot of things, but when you run something as big as a community, you need full-time staff all the time.
Okay. And do you have any stories or any kind of stories that you would have of previous mayors or previous administrators that stick out in your mind that would be interesting for other people?
There's only 3 of us left alive now, 2 former mayors and myself. But I've known quite a few of them. There's some funny stories that most people like to keep them personal. But everyone contributed to the community as far as the former mayors and stuff like that. And you try to pick up what they left off or add to it. And I never looked like trying to outdo one or the other. I simply tried to take what was happening in the past and learn from that and try to see some of their vision and then incorporate some of mine too. So everybody put us in a path. Some disagreements, but overall, you have to have the betterment of the community versus yourself. And that's how I've always promoted this community, still promote this community. It's the oldest community in Warren County, and there's so much rich history here. And with the fact the Historical Society promoting our history, it's really put it to the forefront, and that's why I'm excited about doing this video. And hopefully that it will encourage others to do some more research to what we really have and what we've come from and what role we played in this world. Not just this community, but the United States of America. We played a key role in it, in many cases. So I'm off my soapbox on that.
And speaking of visions, where do you see South Lebanon going into the future?
South Lebanon, based on our projections, will be the next city in Warren County. We have continued to growth in the worst, in even 2008, 2009. We continued to prosper, not at a higher rate, but we never went back. We still went forward in our developments. And now, even with the COVID-19, we're very fortunate because the way we've laid things out, put the utilities underground, we have our infrastructure in place, and we're still building new infrastructure. And I'm building infrastructure for the future beyond me. So sometimes you can come and go, oh, thank God, I'm glad this mayor or this council did this work. It makes our job to help us out. So transition to a city, then what we have now, we've got new restaurants coming. They're changing their model to fit the COVID Chipotle is a good example. It will have a drive-up window versus where that they have where you have to go inside. So they're making things easier. And I think all restaurants are looking at different models so that if something would happen in the future, we can deal with it and still keep business going. You had Mike's Car Wash just opened yesterday. Little things like that where I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4 that's in the pipeline that's going forward now. McDonald's is back on the list. G Credit Union is back on the list. So it's exciting. I think we have one restaurant that's still holding off, and they're looking at their model. So, and basic major developments too. So the last piece I would say that we're estimating in 2020 the legislation that the council has passed that we put forth. It's approximately about $100 million of new development for South Lebanon that's launched this year. And then next year, a lot of it will kick off. And then hopefully there'll be more to follow that and redevelop some areas and put more money that we can put in resources to help the community. And it all stemmed from this little pocket, the original South Lebanon in 1795. Those citizens in this square grid made all this possible. They helped finance it, they voted for it, when everybody else would think that we're really down and out. But it wasn't the case. You had the core group of this community to make what we have today possible.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add before we conclude?
Well, I would like to say this. South Lebanon is a patriotic community. It's to see the history, and it's out there. We were settled in 1795. We have 5 Revolutionary War soldiers, and General David Sutton is our most famous soldier that fought in the Revolutionary War. So South Lebanon has a distinction. George Washington was our president, our first president of the United States. So General Sutton is basically buried behind where I'm speaking now, into the park, and the other 4 Revolutionary War soldiers. But to the significance of the Revolutionary War, then of course the War of 1812, when the British came in and burnt the Capitol, and they were on the march. Well, they raised the army in Ohio to fight the War of 1812. Well, South Lebanon, General Sutton was already out of the Revolutionary War. Then he came back into commission as a captain, and he led the army for the state of Ohio to fight the War of 1812. So those 2 pieces alone is where this community, to win that, helped secure this nation. When we became a community, the United States was only 19 years old. It was a teenager. And then the contribution from South Lebanon is our famous general that came back into service and headed up the army that fought the British back to Canada from South Lebanon. It's really mind-boggling history. And that's just a sample of it. We've had every conflict in the United States of America, South Lebanon has participated in it. And really participated. It's the most patriotic community that I've ever run across. There's probably certainly others out there, but it's my job to promote, and what I see is, and it's great to just have such patriots. Even to this day, we're still getting more patriots. They sign up. I think our most recent one here graduated from West Point here, I believe it was last year. So it's one of the best things that's ever happened, and hopefully that we'll be able to put this information out to future generations. And I certainly thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Well, we definitely thank you from the South Lebanon Historical Society for your time, and you're welcome to, hit us up at any time to continue on, or if you have any other things you'd like to share with us, we'll be glad to help you out.
No, I thank you very much, and the work you do is well needed. And it's certainly appreciated. And I'm glad you have a new home, and I think when you have base of operations, you can do great things. And in fact, I think it also helps other people to see the cause and want to come in and volunteer to help you out. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
And I've got my patriotic mask on from the United States Marine Corps. Thank you.
All right, thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.